we've seen, equity markets kind of slide the last week or so after rallying pretty hard the last, month and a half.
So when I look at the U.S. economy, yes, I mean, we're in a recession, whether Biden admits it or not. We'll probably continue to be in a recession past this GDP print is my guess. But I think the U.S. still stands as a really strong macroeconomic environment relative to the other markets. I think 3.75 is a projected Fed funds rate to end the year. Does Jay Powell reset the narrative a little bit and stop trying to play two sides at once? And I think that's the right move, probably, is to sacrifice the economy in the short term for inflation to come down. A lot of this is supply oriented. The problem is, how do you fix that by increasing rates? You're fighting a fire with a water bottle, right?
We're somewhat isolated from a lot of these, geopolitical issues, but Tesla is becoming increasingly, kind of multinational corporation with, operations and sales worldwide, and so they're certainly prone somewhat to issues that we're seeing in Europe. I mean, could those have the potential to derail the macro recovery that we're starting to see here in North America?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that goes beyond Tesla, corporates, it goes beyond so many things, capitalist related, even that it's just tough to gauge.
Let's move on to happier topics. Tesla rolled out FSD. We're calling it Beta 10.69 this past week.
It's just gotten so human-like, so fast. And I think this is the first step, right, towards the single stack. It's really amazing to see the progress that's happening. It's hard to measure, though.
This is the first build where I'm actually seeing there's very serious performance improvements where it's seeing things and representing them in a much more realistic manner. The experience for the user has to be smooth or they won't use FSD, but it also has to be safe more so than it has to be smooth. Price increase, $15,000. What do you think?
I think the limiting factor here may not be Tesla. It may be law. Depending on where you live and how bullish or bearish you are on regulations allowing robotaxi one day. Increasing prices in the face of take rates being low, I think is it's a really good signal, at least, that they believe what's happening.
Is when they start offering free samples, like FSD Beta for every Tesla customer, free for a month or something like that. That's right. I know that they're confident and they're actually trying to push take rate, but they've never.
I think you can connect the debt crisis with overall consumer demand and then consumer demand into EV. If anything, you can make a case if consumer purchasing power goes down in China, let's say, well, EVs are already cheaper to run over the long haul. Maybe that pushes more EV demand in.
One of the interesting things with the aerospace industry is that it's like such a mom and pop industry. There really hasn't ever been a vertically integrated company in the space up until SpaceX came in. But Rocket Lab is trying to be, I would say, even more vertically integrated than SpaceX. There's execution risk for sure, but I do think it's a good strategy that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think the first step is getting FSD wide released. Level 5 is no human interaction, whatsoever. You don't need it for sticky situations. You don't need it for any circumstance whatsoever. I think we're still a ways from there. But Elon thinks it can get there pretty fast.
With 4680. Sure, I guess it's possible that something else could leapfrog it in performance or some metric. But if you look at the way that they talked about that on Battery Day, performance was one piece of it, but way more important was the manufacturing efficiency and the capital cost. It's just very clear that they haven't prioritized that part of the business. But we're getting to the point where you've got this dedicated 40 megawatt hour megapack facility, which is that's a huge deal. That's a huge amount of revenue potential coming off of that dedicated facility. So I think you're going to start to see some actual scaling in the top line growth there.